Yeah, it seems like we're live. Okay, that was way much more simple than I'm used to, but all right. Okay. Yeah. So hey everybody. Today we're testing new software a little bit, and so it's a little bit more casual stream than we're used to, which makes it kind of awesome. I will probably like if you have any questions or whatever. Um, if you have any ideas, suggestions, want me to look into something, today's the day, because it's today casual, and while some of you show up, I'm gonna talk about next week. So next week we have a guest. We're gonna talk about, of course, AI, Chat GPT, GPT-3 in general, content, SEO, Webflow, everything. So the goal is to talk about, the doomsday of content and SEO, but also at the same time, not the doomsday or more like how it changes. And because we don't know, so we're just going to speculate. And I have a fun guest lining up. So follow the news on Twitter. I'm going to share probably today or tomorrow like an update about what's where and who's the guest and what's the plan. So hey Isabel, hey Chris, nice to see you here. Hey Isabel, hi. So yeah, so today very casual, so that's why any questions just drop me, because honestly I was just trying to test a new software for streaming, look into it, because when I was having guests, those who know, first stream with a guest was a little bit sound was bad, and then the second one went pretty well with the programmatic side that we looked into. But then, yeah, I decided that it's maybe easier for a guest if I have an alternative. Hey Penny, nice to see you here, guys. So yeah, so today we're going to be looking at features, um, and I actually usually I prepare a FinJam board. So one sec, I'm still learning how to use this. Oh yeah, okay, cool. So as I said, if any questions, want to go on a tangent, want me to look into something, want me to chat about something random and a little bit outside of the box, do it, because I want to keep it today very casual, and that's the reason why today's kind of board is, if you see, it's empty. So we're gonna start from scratch, and before we begin, just before the stream, there was like so the Chris from the workshop, by the way, let me know in the comments if anything is wrong, we cannot see, or the sound is bad or anything. And at the same time, I will use the new feature of having a little bit of background music. So yeah, all right. So I think it's a good segue into the topic, because Chris from the workshop released this kind of cool page that allows you to kind of sort CMS items according to different tags, and you see how this works, like your typical like rent or buy a house page, and this is very awesome. But we have this kind of tiny chat on top. I asked like, hey, does the filter link to a different URL? By the way, I asked this in the morning while still on my phone, and we started chatting, and I just decided in the end, hey, I'm just gonna show in the stream. So we're gonna start from that, just because what's the issue with this approach when it comes to SEO? And it's going to be a segue into features and services. And for those who don't have time, I'm just going to help you now. So answer the topic of today, but how we're going to get there, it's going to be a longer. So it's always, So it's always features, collection, then feature, collection, and it's always feature static page, right? And same goes for services. So it's just as simple as, so we have services collection, and service static. And how we're gonna reach that, we'll see in a moment. So let's start from this example. All right, so what happens here is, of course, there's just some code that kind of filters it through, and that's how information change, but you don't actually change URL. So you stay in the same URL. And from crawler's perspective, you have to add which is it, right? Rel canonical, right? So those who don't know, it's something you have to Google, but when this is happening on a website, crawlers will understand each one of these as a separate URL. So you have to add canonical to show the original version. So basically tell crawlers, hey, out of all these versions, this is the main one. But what we wanted to kind of chat about is the need for these URLs to change despite the filter. So in a scenario like this, you want the property to be, for example, in this case, you probably wouldn't want separate pages for prices and maybe for beds and maybe for types of apartment. So let's go into this in the FinJam board, and I'm gonna check the comments real quick while we're looking at it. So where was it? Comments, all right. Isabel says background music is fun. Yeah, I also liked it. Trying this new, so it's Stream Deck, for those who don't know, and I just decided to try it out because it seems, yesterday, Isabel, you know where I was, and they were using it. So, and the experience as being as a guest through this software felt way much better than when I have when you kind of join my stream. So I decided to kind of give it a shot. So yeah. Okay, so coming back to the need of when you have a scenario like this of different URLs. All right, so the issue is that each page can rank for a specific search intent, right? So for example, let's say you have a CMS like this and you want to rank for, and it's usually in scenarios like this, it's location based. So let's say you have Flats Amsterdam, right? So this could be an example that you want to rank for. And let's add text here. Let's make it huge. So, oops. All right. So in this scenario, you want to rank for search intent that people that are searching for, people that are searching for flats in Amsterdam, right? In theory. But then you realize that, wait, there's two different searching for in Amsterdam. So you can either rent, right? Or you can buy. I don't know what happened here. Still not the pro in Figma, sorry. All right, so, or buy. So in this case, you have to structure your, wait, I'm gonna turn these off. So you have to structure your pages and URLs in a way that allows you to, rank for those terms. So you have to have a URL for each one of these use cases. So then again, you would probably have two different. Now, I'm not going into how Webflow works in this scenario because that's another problem. So in this case, we don't know what kind of build you have, right? So in this case, it would be, for example, flat rent, right? And it would be, right? So ideally, these would be CMSs that you can use because this allows you to kind of diversify those different search intents. Somebody wants to buy something in Amsterdam, somebody wants to rent. So same method will go here, But it's a good example because this is a little bit more complex of a structure. But whenever any kind of client comes to you and asks, hey, do we need just a feature page and just list out everything there, or do we need a separate page for each feature? The answer is always yes, you need. And also in most cases, if there's more than like 6 features or something, you probably also need a secondary features collection, just because you will need to segregate those, right, into groups. So basically this would be like a category group for features. This would be a feature, and this would be a static page for everything that company does. That software, let's say, does. And in the similar scenario, it's a service. So now, I'm gonna check the comments again, and if anybody has like an idea for any type of business that we want to look into, it's time to kind of chat about it. And if you guys have like a specific business you wanna talk about, let's do it. So then I'm gonna take an actual example from one of your suggestions, and just let's analyze that, because that was kind of the plan for today. So if anybody has like a business idea or a specific client they're working on, or like that we could apply this feature or service approach, then we're gonna look into how that would actually look when you're using 2 CMS collections. So anybody just drop me ideas, and if not, then I'm gonna pull just come up with anything on the fly. All right, make a sip of tea. All right, so so far I'm liking the software quite easy to use, and a little bit easier to stream when you have especially one screen like mine. So Isabel is asking, is this just for CMS? All right, so can you specify the question? But it's for both. So kind of question of the day that we're having, and I want to chat, and I don't want to go into too deep because I know that this is going to be something we're going to be touching all the time. That's why I know there's going to be plenty of videos and plenty of streams dedicated to this whole idea. So basically the question is, do I need to design CMS collection for how it would go? Do I need to design CMS collection for every CMS collection item I have? And by this I mean, so if you have like a CMS collection, and sometimes you keep it blank, right? So you come up with some sort of filtering solution or something. So for example, if you would just have a static page, you know what, let's go to my unfinished site that I don't have ever time to work on, and look into it. So I probably don't even have a features page yet. Definitely don't have a features page yet. All right. That's a bad example. Okay, I know a good example. So, all right. So, sorry, like this. Where was it? After ads, this one. So this is a features page, right? And we want to build something like this for our clients. And if we check on the highlight all links, there's 300 links. 230 out of them are internal. There's like 300 links on this. Wait, it has to be rendered. Show it. All right, let's render the whole page, and then we can look at it. Yeah. Oh, they removed that. Cool. But did they? Sorry about that. Yes, this is the difference. All right, without clicking on something. So let's render. All right. So so we have 200 30 links. The best thing for SEO I know about why that's why I know this example is this annoying design thing that every designer probably hates, but every SEO guy will love. So this is the question, like, do I need to every time make a separate CMS page for each of the tiny features that we have, right? I just clicked on a few things, and some of them went to articles that explain into documentation. Some of them went to, by the way, they changed that. So before it was a little bit more going to just static page and to the CMS page. So yeah, the question is, do I need to every time make a separate page? So that's why I was kind of, if any, wait, I was not showing my screen. New software, that's why I was testing it. My bad. All right. Sorry for those who just had to listen to me rant for a few minutes and not see my screen. Repeating that again, okay? And this time we're watching my screen. Okay, I'm learning. I'm sorry. So, all right. So coming back, this is ClickUp and this is its feature page. Why it's so green is because I have a thing that highlights all the links, right? So whenever you create a static page that showcases software's features or any business's services, you have to, for SEO, you have to create the static page, which would be the features one, right? But you also have to create CMS or two or even a few, so that whenever somebody, let me refresh this and show you. So whenever somebody wants to go into some sort of specific feature, they can do it, right? ClickUp recently changed it, so now you're going to their help center as opposed of internally inside their site. But in your client case, it's usually going to be something like this. So that's what, but the question we're trying to kind of discuss a little bit today, and that's why like an example would help from the crowd, is how do we kind of work it out, and why is the category one needed? That's why, like, if anybody is watching has like any type of business example, throw it at me, because it would be easier to be like completely fresh and new, and I'm not reimagining something that I already did in the past, but I'm thinking from scratch. We had this one time on the stream, we had this kind of sports, some sort of coaching idea. So I might run with that unless somebody has like something specific. So I'll give a minute here and then we're going to try to dig into it. Oh, all right. So I have to learn this whole new way of controlling it. Yeah. So, so this is identical. The logic why we need to do it is identical to when you want your users to land on a page like this. So for example, they want to buy a house, just as we discussed, right? Where was it here? So same goes for any other service they have. So you want to create separate page for each service, or by the same default for each feature, right? And then you also, and then that's the magic, is why you need another type of CMS to categorize all of it. So that's usually because, well, it's quite obvious, right? But it's quite obvious, but you would have another collection that has like a higher tier of your services. So an example from my kind of site that I barely started is I have four types of categories, which is the services that I provide. But then if you go inside, you'll find each individual services, and then you would find each service as a division. As you see, it's very, I'm working on it really, really hard. So that's the idea. That's like the overall typical structure of, and of course I should have a service page, which just showcases all of it. But in theory, you have to categorize stuff. So for example, if you do, if you do like writing services or just a Webflow content agency, right? You have all different sub services that you provide as such, and and then you have each service separately, and every time you change the link when you click on it. So it doesn't matter if you make something like this or you make any other type of business work plan, because you want to assume that this page want to write for Webflow blog post writers, right? So that's us, but also wanted to rank for some sort of for product descriptions, so Webflow product description writing and stuff like that, right? So that's why you have to subdivide it into these kind of annoyingly small chunks, and as small as you can. So that's exactly why I always propose to follow the structure of 2 different CMS collections working together to present what the company does, and all of that meets in one. And sometimes there's examples where I need more. So now I'm working on a project where I need 5 of these. So not 2, but 5, just because it's very big. It's like hundreds and kind of not thousands, but also in the way thousands, like the system has to support thousands of features, just because we want to rank for every tiny little bit of thing. And that's how kind of I look at sites, which I know it's sometimes annoying, UI and UX, but also its assumption is that people will come to your website eventually from, for example, here. So they will Google product descriptions for Webflow websites, hypothetically, let's say, and they would land here, and that's how they would start their customer journey and things like that. So yeah, the live chat isn't working for me for some reason. Okay, let me double check that for you. I'm looking at it. We're testing things today so that next week with our guest it's going to be easier. Somebody else, how would you let me know, unless on Twitter, that it doesn't work in the chat? By the way, should I check Twitter? Wait, let me zoom out and check Twitter. Twitter, all right. So if somebody told me something wrong about the stream there, no, I don't. No, okay. So what exactly doesn't work? Like what kind of chat features don't work for you, Isabel? Trying to learn about, because I remember somebody told me in the first stream the same was something with sound, and we gradually didn't solve it, and then yeah, I hope there's some sort of. And Michael, hey Michael, nice to see you here. So yeah, so we're continuing. Oh yeah, so Penny's saying she's seeing your messages, so the good old refresh or something. But yeah. So coming back to the topic of what was it? All right, okay. So yeah, so this is actually a good example, and I like that I had this site barely started, and just building the overlying like architecture. I might kind of even show you the backend, might as well, so let me just kind of do the power of editing magic of where I sign into it, and we can chat about like the whole services versus features problem. One sec, I'm doing that now. I'm gonna try to zoom in as much as I can into it. Yeah, all right. Isabel just DM'd me on Twitter. Let me double check that while we, one sec, guys, just what's wrong so I know. So she's saying it's not letting send message on live chat. I don't know why. So she was trying to suggest solutions page that I built for. Okay. Oh, okay. Some are sending and some aren't. Okay, wait. So she has a suggestion. It's just I had to receive it on Twitter. Wait, let me check her suggestion real quick. So which page were you mentioning? You said solutions page. Solution. I assume it's /solutions of the URL you had. It's not found. So I'm assuming. Wait, one sec, guys. Patience here. We're gonna find the perfect example to analyze, which, by the way, was the premise of today. Solutions page. Can you drop me like the final link of on Twitter? Because I'm looking at it, but I just want to be sure that we're for sure in the right page. Isabel, drop me a link of not the homepage, but the final. I'm waiting. If you can. Oh, okay. All right. Okay, I got you. All right. Okay. So yeah, we can chat about it. So I'm back showing my screen, guys. Yeah. So all right. So back. Yeah. So she's saying under switchboard. She needs help. Okay, let's do help. There's 4 links under solutions. There's integrate, transform, migrate, and workflows. Okay, so first of all, with a site like that, wait, let me turn off the comments. All right, let's see. So the structure of features, right? So first of all, we have to understand what the company does. And I'm running this on the fly. And by looking at this image right here, I assume it's an automation thing like Zapier or something. So if you want to correct me in the comments as well, just do it. But I assume something along those terms, right? So, and a site like this, I don't want to click on something by accident that would get me to the software. So I'm going to try my best. But she's saying that under Switchboard, there's 4 different solutions, right? And if we go to all of them, so if we go to all of them, I just open all 4. These are static pages. Unless you did some sort of cool DNS stuff, this is static, right? So you made a separate page for each one of these. Was that not a CMS? So you're saying yes, I don't know to what, but so okay. So static pages, really? Is that static pages? Because if this is a static page and this is a static page and this is a static page and this is a static page, then I think we have a problem. And based on how, okay, yeah. So mistake number 1. Guys, let's learn from our mistakes. Mistake number 1. Let's make some sort of different color and make some. So, all right. So mistake. #1. So always a CMS, right? That's something it's mandatory because, like when you think about it, like SEO in theory is just looking for a kind of thing that works and replicating it many times after. So CMS will always allow us to do that. But let's assume that this was a CMS, right? So let's assume that this is a collection item, this is a collection item, and this is a collection item, and this is a collection item, right? So now we have a selection of 4 different things. So this says integrate software. It doesn't say into what, so it's an H1 that kind of doesn't help us a lot. This says transforming data. So that would be in SEO terms probably converting, or yeah. So you probably should need to rephrase that. And then the next one is the phone workflows. Okay, it's probably automate should be. Workflows fits here, but then the H1 should be something automate, as in create some sort of system, you know? Move what you want when you want with switchboard. Migrations, migrate. This is hardest to say because you have to really understand the tool and talk to the team. And so that last one, let's skip it for now. But all right, so the thing is, H1 every time has to match what user would probably look for to land on this page. And then the fun copy can be, so sometimes like we probably, those who were here before know that I advise to have like a tagline that is an actual H1 rather than and this just being a text that is styled like H1. So that's doable if you have this cool copy that came from somewhere, right? Because that whole we're a solution for fast moving brands, that stuff that actually doesn't have any actual keywords in it, should always just be text, and that's okay. But actual very specific keywords. So in this case, so it says here, obscure software that works harmoniously. So you would need to look for this heading or another tagline above that is actual H1 should look for a way to explain, like for a 3-year-old, what this actually is. So example on my site is, this explains what it is. Webflow content strategy and SEO agency, nothing more, nothing less, right? If I would want to have a cool copy here, right? I would want to be like, we help teams transform the way they create their presence online. That's all not keywords. That's everything that human understands, but nothing that crawler can match to specific like pot when it comes to search intent, right? So I'm gonna check comments again. Oh, yeah, don't worry. We're chatting about just, global starter things. Don't worry. It's all good. Just, we're all learning here. I'm also learning a lot of stuff. Every time I work with some devs or designers or UX designers, I learn so much from them. And I hope they learn from me. And I know that the best projects I ever done was always those where I made big sacrifices to my craft, as in I know something's just that or no other way, and they also know, something else, like for example UI UX or design or something, and they're like just want to force this on the project because they know that's not the way to do it, right? And then we both sides make big sacrifice, say, no, okay, you proved that I might change. We're gonna delete something that I felt was crucial, So, yeah. So coming back, so the way projects like this, in my opinion, should be structured is you have 4 very great categories, right? So you have that integrate. You know what? Let's copy all of them. Show you a cool trick. We're just gonna paste them in. So first, number 1, number 2. Oh wait, that's the wrong one. We're gonna repeat the process for again. So I pasted all of them 4 in. For those thinking how I just did that, copied 4 times and pasted 4 times, and that happened, is check this tool out. It's a very awesome tool, and it's called Clip, and it's, if you own Windows, it's gonna change the way you work. So, all right, so we have integrate, transform, and migrations and workflows, right? So in this case, it should be features, right? And let's start with that part. Let's make this, in some sort of color. All right, so we would have a features collection, right? A features collection that has integrate, right? right, that has integrate, has transform, has integrations, and has workflows. All right, so, and each one of these should have a specific like search intent in mind. So basically problem that it solves, right? So you have to think, and usually when like I think about this, just have to think of, you know, what is H1 here? Like what is the most generic human language that people will type in, people will type in to Google to look for that answer, and you want to be that answer, right? And you also not want to be that answer as your homepage, which by the way, let's add homepage here. So you don't want to be that answer as your homepage, but you want to be that answer specifically this page, right? So coming back to my kind of barely started agency example, layer 1 is the homepage, and it just explains what I do, right? Okay, cool. But then we have 4 types of, just as the example you sent us, right? This one. So just as example, we have 4 types of different areas that we work on. So that's what we work in, right? And then we go inside, and each one of these, by the way, let's do the same. Let's open each one of these, and we have, so the first one, the blog post, you see that the heading is actually Webflow content agency, right? Because I assume that people who look for Webflow content agency should land on this page, which is, by the way, as you see, services/content, right? And if we look at the backend, I have 4 categories. So management, link building, SEO, content, right? And after that, I have 38 different types of services, 58 different types of services that our team provides, right? And I'm barely started with the content, but we're just writing base for each one of these. So where would be an example? Probably like those in the content somewhat started. Yeah, something like this. So you start typing in basic, filling it in and adding it and stuff like that. And then you subdivide those into tiny pieces, and those usually end up being cards. But of course, at the end, each one of them gets their so each one of them gets their own page. So if somebody Googles do follow links for Webflow, they can still land here, right? So same works for any type of business whenever you're building it. There's some sort of areas that you work in, and those areas are also always, I like this plural because in theory this could be feature category, and on WordPress it was always like that. It's such an annoying thing to add that unnecessary word category. That's why I try to always subdivide into 2 different, almost the same word, right? Because crawlers read this and also assume that it explains to crawlers what it is, right? Okay, time to check comments again. Nobody wrote anything. Okay. If anybody has anything to ask for, it's now, because I'm now looking at the comments. All right, so we were liking this vibe. I'm gonna try to look for a different, some sort of, this vibe. Let's see how that works as well, because just trying out around. Yeah, so. You know what? I like the other one way much more. I'm gonna find actually custom music that we're gonna use, but just for this day, today it feels like the right vibe. So you say, okay, so you see why it's better to use CMS. All right, that's a good start. I like that. So, but not only that, that's just the beginning. That's like mandatory, right? That's why it's mandatory. The problem with using CMS is that you will follow the same path for each for each kind of layout, right? So there are ways on Webflow to hide things based on radio buttons inside collection item or based by logic rules. That's something I kind of play sometimes quite a lot on certain projects, right? It's because sometimes you need specific kind of features for specific pages, because also don't forget, like, you have to match your content length, other stuff has to match other basically competitors online, right? So let's do a quick test run. No, I mean, it's hard to look. Wait, let's say integrated. Okay, wait, let me find like a perfect example. So this is transforming data. Nope. Workflows, almost. Yeah, this is. Yeah, so the thing is, this page in theory can be, all right, good point. Okay, so there is another way that sometimes happens. So for example, it's the only way we can group our features. By the way, here we add feature. And let's assume that we're, oh wait, let's copy, just copy, paste. And let's make this some sort of this, right? So let's assume that we're looking for integrate sub features, right? So if we're looking for like integrate sub features, one of them could be, I don't know. So the problem is that you cannot have here integrate word. So you have to have then probably and then let's do like this, right? Okay, so this is an example of sub feature, right? But this usually, then I would call this connect, right? Because logic is like this. So if I add Webflow and Airtable, and I can repeat this formula a million times, right? If that's the product that we have or plan to have, by the way. Also, when we're doing this, we're assuming what might happen in 10 years from now, not only today. And then another would be Notion and Asana and so on and so forth. So that's usually like a variable that I like to add. So if that's the way we're gonna work, then probably it's connect. And that probably means that we need another feature group, right? And yeah, it's all speculations here. It's not real project. I mean, in theory, what we're chatting here about, but maybe that raises any questions for anybody, how this kind of process works, of why it's very easy that two CMS collections plus a static page doesn't cut it a lot of times, especially if software actually solves problems, because then you have this infinite amount of pages that you have to generate. So I'm glad. I mean, I'm barely starting here. So oh, that's awesome. All right, if anybody is watching this can just drop any questions or ideas, because I know this stuff is like hard to understand, but also very dry, because it's just mathematic thinking about slugs. It's like this, way of lowering yourself down into a 5-year-old talk, and then thinking like, how would a 5-year-old look for this? Like, what kind of language would they use? And then, of course, I have like a lot of tools to test this. We're not going into this. We're assuming you're not paying like a few $100 a month for Ahrefs or stuff like that, right? So you don't know how many people look for it. That's another topic and story. You also don't know if anybody looks for it, and also you don't know how much money it would cost to rank for each one of these, right? So for example, for this, like how much money does the company has to invest, like how many links and what kind of content and how many other pages, right? But you get an idea of like the thinking patterns we're going for, right? So, all right, let's come back to your example. Let me take some tea, look at it. Okay, internal linking. So now when we kind of covered the example of, by the way, this works for services, just to show this in action, and then we jump to, if we make this example, let's make services example, right? So if we would make this example, by the way, services, I can show you this. This is an example. This is services, man. So where was it? All right. So this is, we have services category, right? And we have a service category. And a service. Coming back, sorry. Okay, so we have a services CMS, we have a service CMS, and we merge them together to get this weird flex of there's 4 different categories of services or areas of work that we do, and then we go, and then it's really important that we link things together, right? So it's important because these are what's called, like, let's call these long tail keywords, especially something very specific can be very long tail, and then these are, all right. So in software, categories are usually built more for categorizing than rather for ranking, and in services, categories are built for actual ranking, right? There's an example of, okay, let's make a small mom and pop shop website example. That's what I was looking for. Okay, so let's say it's okay, so let's say it's some sort of lawyer, right? So it might, all right, I don't know. It just gonna run real quick instead of going into a real thing. But it's like, okay, so maybe they do contracts, they also do visas, and then they also do divorce, right? So they're that kind of lawyer, does everything, right? But we also, and then in the service category, under let's say visas, so let's make this like this, right? In the services category, right, there would be there's, I don't remember the numbers, but there's like B2 visa, and then there's, by the way, you would probably add this word here, okay? So, and then there's some sort of maybe, other type of A7 whatever visa, and then there's maybe they also do something visa, right? I'm just gonna fix this to, I don't know, M1 visa or something, and then they also do student visa, and that's where it comes out to understand, hey, wait, so do these guys work like location specific or customer specific? Because that sometimes means so client types could be, so for example, they work with students and they work with businesses, and that will allow us to categorize stuff even better. So then we need another CMS, and then maybe they also do locations. So now it's even worse because now we have to do student visa, right? And add a location for each one of these. And that becomes a nightmare. That's what SEO is. That's why, like, when I say like a few hundred URLs is a small site, it's because I don't know. Let's make what's the city, right? So maybe we do this, right? But we can also help you with the same thing if you're in, and then in, oops. And then we can also help you if you're in another city, I don't know, like Berlin or whatever. And that's, you see how it happens like immediately that you need for different search intents, you need different things, and you have to link stuff. So now let's move the stuff around and let's copy this and understand that these cities have to be linked on that page, and they can be linked as a simple, it just says Berlin and it's a hyperlink, right? Oh, sorry, I cannot underline things. So, and then Amsterdam, maybe just list out, like in one of the paragraphs, it just lists out cities that we work in, right? And then it's hyperlinks link to each of the specific page, like optimized just for that search intent. So that's how, that's to answer the question, like, do we need a service page or do we need separate? And the answer is always separate, and probably there's going to be more problems. So when you have services, there's usually even more kind of things. But the thing is that eventually you can rank for something like divorce lawyer, because with this example, you are assuming and creating this page with maybe 50, 60 links inside it to get to the point where this page, just due to the quality content that you can go from this page towards to, so links that are on this page, is good enough to rank for something like, and then usually there's going to be like a city or, so maybe it's like, I don't know, right? Something like that, hypothetically. Now, all of this is theoretical, and just don't start spamming Berlin if you don't work. And especially with things like law, not even law, like any type of service, you have to understand when you start playing with locations, there are rules to this also. Just, you cannot just toss it around, okay? So coming back to the comments, all right. If you're using a CMS template for services pages, will they all have to be in the same layout? Well, yes. On Webflow, yes, by default. But that doesn't mean that there aren't ways to make them different. So let's answer this question in two ways. Okay, can I copy your? I'm still learning software. So can I just copy this? No, I can't. Okay, unless I copy it. Wait one sec. Just want to get your question written version. I got it. So, here you go, your question. So if you're using a CMS template for your service pages, will they have the same layout? Yes, so they will. And this is a good example. I have a service page, and then it just follows the same layout, right? I'm doing a great job here. Wait, where was it? Why the empty state is, I just want to see. Oh my God, I broke something. No. Oh yeah, okay, cool. So, so yes, it's gonna have the same layout, but that doesn't mean that you cannot assign properties that will change. So sometimes we play with just entire sections, just duplicating the same section and just doing a condition that show this when something is set or something. So that's how you build like insanely good systems. So that's like advanced feature, which is not that advanced in terms of development, but that's something we do just because. Oh wait, did I just duplicate main wrapper? That just shows how good I am at development. So for example, you would have this section of product features, right? Let's look into it. So you would have this, but then let's say for certain types, you would want to have a different layout or less text, or SEO comes to you annoyingly and says, hey, more text. I need this to be like 2,000 words. Then you can just duplicate it and set a condition that show this only if, and also you have to set on the first one condition, the opposite condition, right? So you can even set conditions that, for example, so usually we play with radio buttons, which was a little bit annoying at times where there was only 30 lines inside a CMS item. Now it's like 60 they did, so now it's not even an issue. So you can do, you can create a, like this is an option and equals or, and then also, again, you can also do that text is set. So every time, for example, this, the text is set, you show this. So then you teach your clients that, look guys, it's very simple. Wait, let me fix this because the sexual site that I'm working on, I don't want to have it too much random stuff happening in there. Okay, cool. So yeah, so you can tell your clients, hey, if you fill this in, there's going to be this section showing up. But if you don't fill it in, then it's not going to show up, and vice versa, right? So for example, you have different sections, and then you have to understand that if you fill this in, you don't fill the other one, and differently. So an example would be, I don't know, where was it? Something first. All right. So for example, you can tell, hey, if you fill this in, then don't fill this in. But if you fill this in, then don't fill that in, and that will affect how the layout of the page looks, right? So yeah, so does that answer the question in a way? Yes, option. That's awesome, but also you can set other stuff like is set, not set, and things like that. So it becomes messy when I work. Like sometimes it becomes messy because if it's complex strategies and you're running, that's why I try to run the same content strategy on one CMS. Usually it's rather than running multiple ones on one CMS, different types of. So yeah, need to research more into this. Yeah, well, no, I mean, it's just a thing that logic part that I just showed. Wait, where was it? So whenever you select any element, and I just go for conditions, this is where I spend most of my time. There's two things I do. I make sure that in my teams, when I work with some certain types of projects where there's other people working on it, then my work is usually to make sure that the links link where they need to, that we have plenty of links, set up the architecture from the get-go. Yes, so that's where we work together. Like on the wireframe, we build wireframes before we. So basically, we build the site out of like Reloom components before we make the design. And I know this is backwards, but for that type of very complex SEO project, this is the only way to do it, because you want to test the development and build a prototype, systematic like prototype, before you start designing on top, right? So that's because you're building something like this, but I don't know, like you're preparing a system that will work whether there's 200 entries or 3,000. So you're kind of trying to make sure, instead of wasting time to develop cool components, you know, you're trying to make sure that it's gonna work, because there's so many different like SEO rules and stuff like that, you know, to kind of make sure that everything's intact. Like, and those usually have like logic and internal linking, because again, all of these talk to each other, right? So let's pick a page and we like something like this, right? Just add one. So we would have, in this particular scenario, we would have locations, we would have clients, we have location, we would have service, we would have services, and then maybe a few more others, as in could be even people. So you have to understand that you have to make an architecture that supports, so that each of these pages help each other, so that crawlers know that it's connected in some sort of semantic sense. And each of these pages help crawlers understand what to rank each page for. It's kind of, I know it's a mess, but just bear with me. So just as an example, an idea, right? So let's say you want to rank for this keyword. Let's make it different color, right? So you have to make sure that this page is linked on this page. So you have to make sure that student visa Amsterdam is linked on students, as in services we provide to students as a lawyer. You have to link it on the visas page, because it's a visa, right? You have to link it on Amsterdam page because it's in Amsterdam. So we get these three words. That's very simple, like it's very semantic and nothing hard here. But from here, it starts other. So it's a service we provide. Oops, sorry. So it's a service we provide. So not necessarily you need to link it on service directly, but then you must link all of these, or at least one of these, because from the home page, it has to be reached by 3 clicks. So you see, if I don't link it on together, then it's more than 1, 2, 3 clicks. Okay, cool. And then that's like how you testing your sitemap against every possible scenario like this, that something is missing and something doesn't work, and some sort of what I call this, you know, a cluster. Oh wait, you cannot see this. Sorry, my bad. I would use the tool that is not seen to you. So you try to make sure that this is how like a cluster looks, right? But actually, all of this kind of system, and the system, we barely scratched the surface, because you also have to account for each type of visa. You have to account for each type of divorce scenario and a lot of things. So you're trying to prove, like concept proof your build before even starting it, right? All right, coming back to the comments. What do we have? You're welcome. Like I said on Twitter today that it's going to be a casual stream, and I'm glad you showed up, because really wanted to dig into some sort of a real use case. And look at that, we spent like an hour on it. It's kind of awesome, and it also answered the topic I wanted to chat about, like the need of structuring services, service pages, stuff like that, you know. So yeah, I think we're gonna end it here. I like the, let's make some sort of cooler music as an example. I don't know what's cooler. Rock is cooler. You can add more. Yeah, but probably for streams that doesn't work. Okay, so yeah, I tested the software. Thanks a lot for everybody who would jumped in. And let's see. So can I turn off comment strip at the bottom of the stream? Penny asks. Comment. Wait, so can I turn off the comment strip at the bottom of the stream? Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. So okay. So you're trying to let me know that if I. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. Now I get it. Yeah. So Penny wants me to turn this off before I go into explanation. Okay. That makes sense. I could also do stuff like that in theory, but then nobody would see it, right? Yeah. Okay, so sorry. I'm still learning this by a lot because it kind of works extremely differently than the open source version I was running with before. Thank you. Thanks, Penny. So yeah, because this is way much more. This approach is way much more better for having guests, like by a lot, and so much easier and so many times less hassle. And so because we're kind of ending the stream, I'm just gonna do an outro. So follow on Twitter for update. We're gonna be having like a guest next week, and next week we're talking about AI, SEO, content, Webflow sites, and basically AI and SEO, because there's like issues with that, but also there's a lot of things to talk. And those who don't know, I'm gonna just mention I've been using GPT-3 tools for SEO weekly for almost 2 years. I don't know when Jasper came out, but I was using it since like day one or whatever. And I was actually actively using for a specific client, specific use case, specific thing. And then I tested it, as you imagine, on many different scenarios. And in 95% of the cases, you can't use it yet, even ChatGPT. So we're gonna dig into that. That's my experience, and I really try to cheat my way into it because SEOs are, people know that we're kind of hacky and scammy and whatever, but actually more about we're trying, as you saw today, more about trying to structure things in a cool way, right? More about like, hey, let's try to make sure everything's included, like every logic is not missed, instead of just running with the message. Let's first think about structuring things. So so next week we're talking about that, and I'm gonna have like a guest that has a lot of experience, and I know this is a bit of a teaser who's the guest, but I'm gonna definitely let you guys know everything, so keep in mind. And then when you see it, do me a favor, just retweet and like and share and subscribe, all that stuff. It helps, because I'm really excited for next week's stream. So, and one more thing, those were just stumbled upon this, be sure to check out one of the streams from like past weeks, where we touched like where Colin was here and he showed us like a build on Webflow that has like 3,000 or more pages on it. And that's also like an interesting topic. It's kind of, if you stayed this long and now you're hearing this, probably you have to see that. Like if really you spend all this time watching today, or after the stream ends, really check that video out, because it broadens perspectives for those who don't know how programmatic SEO works, and how in theory, because programmatic SEO is nothing like, programmatic. It's more of a same that we just talk about today, but at bigger scale and better understanding. So that's why it's a system that works. Yeah. All right. So Isabel says, great stream. Yeah. I think it's a personalized stream for you, which was probably awesome. I hope. I was trying my best to answer questions, and we'll see. And I don't know how the quality of the stream was, so I'm gonna check that afterwards, and I'm gonna check a lot of other things that I was also wanted to test, but I can only test them after we finish. But yeah, it was cool to have you all guys, and see you next week. And next week we have a guest. And for those who want to continue having this much fun, check out one of the videos from the past with Colin about programmatic SEO. It kind of touches on the same subject, but many different variants of it. All right, guys, see you next week. Like always on Thursday, this was Search Historian, and peace out, guys. Bye.